This is a question from Mark Bonke and Helen Friedrichsen in Rapid City, South Dakota. As the U.S. dollar quickly loses value in relation to other foreign currencies in 2025, is Berkshire Hathaway taking steps to minimize this currency risk and its impact on quarterly and annual earnings? If so, please explain. And I'll just add from Mary Cheng, another shareholder, Berkshire currently borrows in Japanese yen to offset its currency risk and its Japanese stock investments. In the future, will you invest in foreign currency denominated assets unhedged?
Yeah, well, we always have, pretty much. The Japanese situation is different because we do intend to stay so long with that position, and the funding situation is so cheap that we essentially have attempted to some degree to match purchases against yen-denominated funding. But that's not a policy of ours. In fact, that's the first time we've done that, and we've owned lots of securities in foreign currency. So we do nothing in terms of the question about its impact on quarterly and annual earnings. We don't do anything based on its impact on quarterly and annual earnings. I mean, there's never been a board meeting I can remember or a conversation I had with Charlie where I say, if we do this, our annual earnings will be this, and therefore we ought to, whether it's accounting or whether anything, we just, the number will turn out to be what it'll be. What counts is where we are 5 or 10 or 20 years from now. And if you start focusing on what number you're going to produce, you will quickly get tempted, at least based on the experience I've seen from viewing 20 companies. You'll, one way or another, play around with the numbers, and sometimes seriously play around with the numbers. And I've seen people that I trust them in all kinds of other ways, but they regard playing around with numbers as perfectly okay. And that's just not something, we just don't think about that. So actually the yen relationship of the yen, behavior of the yen in the last quarter, resulted in certain gap charges, but it doesn't make any difference. It'll change next month or next year, and obviously we wouldn't want to be owning anything that we thought was in a currency that was really going to hell. And that's the big thing we worry about with the United States currency. I mean, the tendency of a government to want to debase its currency over time there's no system that beats that. You can pick dictators, you can pick representatives, you can do anything, but the people, there will be a push toward weaker currencies, and of course that is, I mentioned very briefly in the annual report that the fiscal policy is what scares me in the United States, because it's made the way it is, and all the motivations are to doing a lot of things that can cause trouble with money. But that's not limited to the United States. It's all over the world, and some places it gets out of control regularly. As they devalue at rates that are breathtaking, and that's continued. I mean, and people can study economics, and you can have all kinds of arrangements, but in the end, if you've got people that control the currency, you can issue paper money, and you will, or you can engage in clipping currencies like they used to do centuries ago, or then there will always be people. And it's the nature of their job. I'm not singling them out as particularly evil or anything like that. But the natural course of government is to make the currency worth less over time, and that's got important consequences. And it's very hard to build checks and balances into the system to keep that from happening. And we've had a lot of fun here in the last, either the first 100 days or the last 100 days, whatever you want to call it, watching what happens when people try to make sure that they aren't running fiscal risks. And that game isn't over, and it never will be over, in finality. If you look up and search the great inflations of post-World War II, it's just a list that goes on forever, and the same names keep popping up and everything. So the value of currency is a scary thing. And we don't have any great system for beating that. We do in this particular Japanese position, because we expect to hold it for 50 or 100 years or more. And we will be owning something that's denominated in yen and easily predictable. And we'll just, as long as the carry on it is right and everything, we'll attempt to issue Japanese denominated liabilities. But that's not because of anything we care about in terms of quarterly or annual earnings. Greg, do you have anything to say on that?
I was just going to say that relative to the question, that there's no question we were fundamentally very comfortable with investing in the 5 Japanese companies and recognizing we're investing in yen. The fact we could then borrow in yen was almost just like a nice incremental opportunity. But we are very comfortable both with the Japanese companies and with the currency we would ultimately realize, i.e. in the yen.